This is the experience of Robbie. His mother Christine is describing this. My son doesn't remember the experience itself now that it's 7 years later, but he remembers his description to me. He had been ambulanced after flatlining at another hospital. His organs were shutting down one by one, causing the next organ to stop working. The organism that had caused the damage had been tested for had not been found, but other tests ruled out every kind of disease from meningitis to Lyme disease. The CDC specialists ruled out everything except for the one disease they could not verify, which was toxic shock syndrome. This disease was known as only appearing in women who used tampons, but had recently at the time been proven to be contracted in other ways, as in open sores and untreated strep throat, as toxic shock is caused by a strep bacteria. The doctors and I had decided over much consideration to put Robbie on an ECMO. I can't remember what the initials stand for, but basically it's a machine that pumps the blood from your body into the machine, oxygenates it, nitrifies the blood of whatever else it needs, then pumps the blood back into the body. It takes the place of the lungs in the sense that your lungs oxygenate your blood as you breathe, and the heart in the sense that your heart pumps the blood into all the vessels and other organs and places the blood needs to be. From what I understood, the machine takes the place of all organs by doing all their jobs, while on this machine, the heart does not beat and your lungs do not breathe. The only thing of your body that is alive is the blood, which kind of keeps everything else in a dormant state. I had had a vision the night before the conference discussing this option, so when we actually had the conference, I didn't want specific details about the machine. All I cared about was my son being okay, and God told me that my son would be okay in that vision the night before, so I told the doctors to use their judgment on the details, because it wasn't going to affect what I knew the outcome would be. They told me none of his organs would be working during his time on the machine, and that he would be brain dead as he had been for a while. He had been in a coma state for 2 months by this time. They said his chances of coming back with organs that would actually work by themselves would be less than 20%. That once the organs don't work on their own for an extended period of time, it's extremely difficult to make them do so. They also had told me that if he did come back from this machine, that his chances aren't good at ever being normal, that he may have permanent physical or mental damage. There were very few cases of people coming out off this machine alive, much less normal. The machine was relatively new at the time, and there was not enough use of it yet to give any kind of statistics. They said that from what little it has been used, that children seem to have had better outcomes than adults. I remember they had told me either that it hadn't been used on many adults yet, or either the outcome of adults was not good. Adults or children, they said not many people in general have come off the machine normal, if at all. All this information was too much for me to comprehend, and was bothering me because it seemed futile and a waste of my time since I had my vision, so I would not let them explain anything else about it to me. Even though I'm very interested in it after the fact, after all, it is several of the many miracles my son was blessed with. These were the obstacles God brought him out of. I told the doctors I would sign whatever they wanted me to, asked them to use their own judgment, that he was going to be okay either way. I gave permission, and he was put on the machine for 7 or 9 days. The surgery of putting the machine on is risky itself. It's hooked on the body through the artery at your neck and the groin. One where the blood is pumped out, the one where it's pumped back in after it has been treated. All went 200% better than expected after that. He was awake from his coma about a week after the machine was removed, which I understand is equally as risky as hooking up the machine. A week later, he was alert enough to tell me what he saw. He really didn't know how to describe his experience, so I tried to understand it in his kid language. He didn't tell the order that he had the experience, but he said he saw a bright light, and that he saw a pearly gate made out of a single pearl, and that he saw an angel named Elizabeth with dark, long stringy hair, but he could not remember her face. He said she told him that his nannies needed him and loved him very much. He's the only grandchild between both his grandmothers, and 99% probably always will be. He said Elizabeth gave him a gift wrapped in bright lighted paper with a gold bow on it, and that when he opened it, it was a crystal cross that glowed with a bright light. Then Elizabeth picked him up and held him over her head, and he held the cross over his head to show it to Jesus. I asked him what Jesus looked like. He said he didn't see him, that he just held the cross up for him to see. He said that was all he remembered of the experience. I had related this to the nurses who had become attached to Robbie. One nurse said that her and her co-workers' experience, including several doctors, found that there were several children who had seen the same angel named Elizabeth. I've read one other article about a child's NDE who also saw her. One of the doctors also said he's noticed that most people and children, included who have seen angels, usually do not die from the experience that caused them to see the angels, and the opposite for those who see Jesus. I was very concerned about this due to the fact that my son said he could not remember this angel's face, and I had heard of NDE where it was Jesus' face people could not remember. I asked my son how he knew this was an angel, and he said that he just knew. I guess I didn't believe him, so I asked him again on several different occasions during the next few weeks until it was obvious that I was getting on his nerves about it. He told me a few times, because I know mommy, okay, I just know. I didn't want to harass him with it anymore, so I just left it alone. Then I asked him about it one more time, but instead of asking him how he knew it was an angel, I asked him how he knew it wasn't Jesus. He said to me very sarcastically, because mommy, she had boobies under her gown. Jesus wouldn't have boobies. Now would he? He also told me that she had a pretty voice. I'm sure he experienced more than he was able to tell me at the time, and now that he's able to describe situations better, he says he doesn't remember any of it. I do bring it up ever so often, but I let him choose whether he wants to discuss it or not. I hope my prodding back then didn't cause him to clam up about it. He doesn't seem uncomfortable when it's brought up, so maybe he honestly doesn't remember. If that's the case, I hope he does eventually. If anyone has any information on this angel named Elizabeth, or any kind of research on the different outcomes of Jesus NDE and angel NDE, or the ECMO, please let me know. Thank you very much, and God bless you.